Welcome back. Therapist Daphne Rose Kingma has written 12 books addressing some universal heartaches, searching for love, rejection, and breakups. Daphne's newest work? Facing life's overwhelming problems, especially when several pile on all at once. And lately, many of us have met job loss, home loss, money worries, health crises, or hurtful relationships. If you're in the dark night of the soul, you'll find help, I think, in Daphne Rose Kingma's newest book, The 10 Things to Do When Your Life Falls Apart. Welcome. It's been a long time since I've seen you. Welcome back.
Thank you, Susan. It's wonderful to be here.
You had me on page 1 or 2, certainly, because you write in such a relatable way. And I think for a lot of people these days, when you're looking at your basic needs, your home, your job, your marriage, your relationship, your friendships, whatever, when all those things come at one time, it's overwhelming. And it seems to me that there are more people dealing with this now than ever before. Is that just because of the economy?
I think that's one part of it. It's the economy. It's the stress that we all feel since 9/11. You know, there's a kind of vibe around that hasn't been there before. We don't feel as safe in our world as we used to feel. And of course, everybody has some form of personal crisis at some time in their life too. So it really is many dimensions of our lives in which we're feeling insecure.
You help a lot of people. You're a therapist.
Yes, I am.
And you've written a lot of books about this, focusing on this one area, certainly all these years. But you had, you went through this. You walked through a little bit of hell.
Yes,
not very long ago.
I know whereof I speak, yes. Many things happened. As a matter of fact, when I was starting to write this book, I went away to write it, and the night I got to my destination, the next morning I got up to get my computer and my book outline out of the car, and they had vanished. It's like, okay, lady, you want to write a book about crisis? Try this on, you know. So, yes, and I went through financial things, and I had a very bad car accident, and
relationships
had to move a lot.
Too?
Ended a long relationship that, you know, had gone through many stages and finally came to a conclusion. So it was that range that people go through, you know, financial, personal, heartache, and life situation. And I see, you know, this book was inspired by a friend of mine who came to visit and said, you know, my life is falling apart. My wife has left me. I've lost my job. I've had to move. And he'd been also diagnosed with a debilitating disease that would ultimately probably be fatal. And he came to seek sanctuary with me because I live in a lovely place. And as he was ready to go back home, he lives in Europe, he said, Daphne, you know, what are the 10 things I should do to get through all this? And I thought, oh my goodness, this guy is asking me to write a book, you know.
And you did.
And I did.
Yeah.
And I felt really that he was the spokesman for so many people. It's like, how can we, in the swamp of difficulty, find some principles to hang on to so we can move through this?
Okay, let's go through a couple, because the 10 are in the book, and you can certainly go through them, but I think there's a couple that we can address this morning. First of all, you say, cry your heart out. And you start with that one.
Yes.
Cry your heart, let the tears come. And we resist tears. I know myself, I have a hard time crying sometimes about something, unless everything is at once and then it's like, okay.
You break through.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you say these tears are necessary.
They're necessary. They're the process of healing. Grief is the way we move through loss. And any kind of crisis experience is a loss. It's a loss of faith. It's a loss of something real, money, a house, a relationship. And it's so un-American to cry. It's so un-American to grieve, because we live in this culture that says, get control, do more, you can handle it. Exactly.
Pick yourself up by the bootstraps.
Exactly.
We've got a million cliches for it. Yeah.
We do. And they're deeply ingrained. And it's amazing to me that even in my office, where people have come because they've acknowledged they're in trouble, they're in need, you know, they reach for the Kleenex box and then say, I'm so sorry. It's like, I should have a grip instead of have a release.
Yeah.
And so that really came to me as the first thing people need to know. It's okay to let go with this grief process.
Yeah, and I would think it would be harder for men, no?
Very much so. And many men I've spoken to about the book said, well, that's great for women, but it's never going to happen to me.
And then they put up a hard shell, maybe, and don't get to what this problem. But you say once you get the crying and you get that out, you can. There's almost a space that you can start to move on. What if you think you're not going to stop crying?
Well, of course, a lot of people feel that way. There's going to be no end to to it. The truth is, it's a very organic process. It's a biologically based process. It was given to us as a means of release, and the body and the spirit naturally comes to a conclusion with it, and then we can recollect ourselves and take action.
All right, we got 2 more to get through very quickly here. First of all, letting go. You say not just letting go of someone. For instance, if you're, I don't know, if you have a relationship with someone, your love is not returned, perhaps.
Yes.
And that's a hard thing to do.
It's a very hard
But
thing.
you're also letting go of who you were or what was as well. How do you start that?
Well, you know, as I say in the
After
book,
the crime.
do it any way you possibly can. Trick yourself, you know, push yourself, but know that this is a part of the process. And I think that's the information I'm giving here in this book, is to say to people, you will need to let go. You know, we're hanger-oners. We want to hold on to everything we've had, everything we thought. And so the message here is, be prepared that in some way you will need to let go of a person, of an attitude, of a way of life, something.
Okay, the last one I'd like to get to, because there was also Live Simply, but that's pretty easy. Let's go to this one, which is Go Where the Love Is. A lot of times you say, why does it take a nightmare to wake us up to the need for love?
Oh, that's so true. And because we really think control and having stuff and being on our path of whatever it is so important, and that is the beauty of course
But if you're in a
crisis.
If you're in a crisis, let's say if you're losing, let's say if you lost a job, okay, and you have a good steady relationship with somebody, a loving relationship, that's going to make it easier.
Yes,
if you lose the job and you don't have, let's say you love someone and your love is not returned.
Yes, or
that makes it harder.
Or your love is lost at the same time your relationship.
Right.
Your job is.
You feel like everything's overwhelming.
Yes, it is. And so this is a great teaching in that love is available to us in so many ways and places, and we need to consciously reach out for it because it makes all the difference. And I think, you know, I was talking with a woman the other day who'd been hit by a hit-and-run driver and, you know, completely taken apart on a physical level. Powerhouse of a woman who always said, you know, I'm in control, I run the world, and suddenly she's finding herself asking for help, asking for support, asking people to bring her dinner, asking people to help her to the bathroom. And she said, suddenly I realize I'm connected. I'm part of this human context. People are here to connect with me, to love me, you know. And she said, I never would have arrived at this had this crisis not happened. So,
I wish I had more time, but I'm having a crisis of time right now. But the book is called The 10 Things to Do When Your Life Falls Apart. I sat down to skim it, frankly, just for the show, and I found myself reading most of it. I finished most of it yesterday, and it really is well done. And a lot of the ideas in here are practical and doable, I believe. Anyway, Daphne Rose Kingma, that's DaphneKingma.com is her website, DaphneKingma.com.